Hey everyone, and welcome back to another severe storm film or weather forecast. In this forecast, we have a very active weather pattern, including several days of severe weather coming up for a lot of areas across the country. So let's get right into it without further ado. Taking a look at the jet stream across the United States, taking it in towards tomorrow afternoon and evening. This will be the start of many days of severe weather, and that will take place across areas like Oklahoma back into Missouri, where a few hailing storms will be possible, but it's not going to be a big severe weather outbreak by any means. As we head in towards Wednesday, maybe a bit more of an elevated threat of severe weather across areas of Texas back in towards Missouri, where damaging winds, hail, maybe a tornado or two will be possible. And then as we take it into the daytime hours on Thursday, that trough will begin to move off towards the east. I wouldn't be shocked if we have a severe risk across this area: Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania. Do note that that damaging wind threat is probably going to be a nighttime threat, so you definitely want to have ways of receiving alerts if you live that far to the east. As we head in towards Friday, though, a new storm system will begin to move in. This one has a lot of dynamics working along with it, and this is a negatively tilted shortwave that will be ejecting over the Rockies and then eventually into the Plain States. This could be a moderate risk day, in my opinion, across this area as we head in towards Friday, all right? Big tornado outbreak possible. Depending on how many supercells fire, we could absolutely have a moderate risk day. Enhanced risk at the least, I should say. And then as we take this into Saturday, that shortwave will begin to move up into areas of the Great Lakes. This is still going to have a neutrally to perhaps slightly negatively tilted look to it. So significant severe weather is still possible across areas of Indiana, southern Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, maybe even areas of New York, with perhaps some line of storms that could be severe. So watch out if you live over there. As we head in towards Sunday, the severe risk will likely be minimal across the United States. Before we take it into Monday, we start to watch this low pressure system just offshore of the United States. All right, this is going to be bringing lots of rain and possibly mountain snow to areas of western Arizona, and the potential of some storms to areas of eastern Arizona. But here comes Tuesday, folks, all right? There is still some spread as to how, this evolves. However, this model, in particular the European model, is determining that is saying that we have this tilt positively to neutrally tilted trough digging south and bringing in lots of moisture to the south central plains, to the Midwest, to the Ohio Valley. This would absolutely favor significant severe weather all up and down the upper Midwest back into the Great Plains. So monitor if you live across all that area. Then as we head in towards Wednesday, this thing will continue to move off towards the east. Again, still some spread as to how things could evolve here. However, I could see still significant severe risks all the way from the lower Great Lakes back down to the Gulf. Again, still some things to iron out, but definitely wanting to monitor all those areas. And then as we head beyond that, things become very uncertain. However, it appears as we head in towards the third week of March that we'll likely get winter back in the driver's seat. So I'm sorry for you folks hoping that spring would stay around longer. Now let's take a look at a more defined surface-based map across the United States, all right? As we head in towards early tomorrow morning, I did want to emphasize that there could be some freezing rain, and it could be rather impactful across extreme eastern Ohio back in towards Pennsylvania. So take it slow if you have to drive tomorrow morning. Rain showers and snow showers into areas of the mountains, and just rain showers back all the way from the central Ohio Valley back into the eastern United States. And then as we take it in towards tomorrow afternoon, a decently rainy afternoon for areas of the Great Lakes back into areas of the Midwest where maybe a few hailstones can fall out of these areas of convection. Again, like I said before, Missouri back down towards Kansas and perhaps Oklahoma. And then as we take it in towards Wednesday, this is when we watch out for the potential of maybe a bit more significant severe weather across areas of Texas, extending back up into areas like the Arklatex and possibly as far north as Illinois. Then as we take it into Thursday, we're going to be monitoring lots of areas, all right? One is going to be down here. Another is going to be up here, all right? Severe storms are possible in any of these areas I circled, so if you live in any of those areas, pay attention to the forecast over the next few days. As we headed towards Friday, this is the more significant day of severe weather. Again, this is going to potentially be an enhanced / moderate risk day across the plains if this absolutely verifies. All right, if this verifies in any way, this is a moderate risk day. All right, all the way from Kansas back down into Texas. All right, this is absolutely going to be significant if this unfolds this way. Then that storm activity will begin to move off towards the east. Notice how it refires across the Great Lakes. This is another area to watch for severe weather, at least scattered severe weather, I'd say, as we head in towards that time frame. And then down here across Texas, back in towards Oklahoma and Mississippi, that's where we could see a more significant risk of severe weather unfolding as well. Then as we take it into Sunday, we're likely going to be monitoring the Gulf Coast, or not the Gulf Coast, the Pacific system that will be just off the southeast coast. And you notice as we head into the daytime hours on Monday how the European model is sneaking a little bit of convection into areas of New Mexico and western Texas. So there might be a severe risk that day, but it's only likely going to be marginal at best. Unlike Monday, though, Tuesday looks to be a bigger day of severe weather as it looks right now. All right, the definitive areas and exact measure are going to be very uncertain. However, I would watch this entire area on Tuesday. All right, maybe a bit further east. We're just going to have to wait and see how that unfolds. But as we take it into Wednesday, I still think we should watch out for the potential of at least strong thunderstorms all the way from the Great Lakes back south, especially into the Gulf, where another big severe weather threat could be possible depending on how this evolves. And then, like I said before, once that goes through, that'll put an end to the severe risk and then start winter back up. A potential winter storm for the Great Lakes next Thursday if this look is correct. So pay attention if you live over there. And then as we take it past that, it appears several winter storms will be possible to go into the second half of March for lots of areas. And taking a look at those ingredients needed for those stronger to severe thunderstorms as we take this in towards tomorrow, all right? I almost went to Wednesday almost immediately. Notice here how your instability, like I said before, is there. But the question is, do we get storms to form across this area? And how strong could they actually get, all right? If storms form, hail will be the primary risk, all right? So just monitor if you live especially across Oklahoma and Missouri. But thunderstorms will be possible anywhere where I just circled. As we head into Wednesday, there's a more significant severe risk, all right? Instability will be weak, but actually moderate for some areas for this time of year. So some severe weather could be possible across the Ohio Valley back down into areas of the Ozarks. And then as we take it into the daytime hours on Thursday, notice the instability moving to the north. All right, I would watch out for this area as we headed towards Thursday evening. In addition to that, I would watch this entire area for the potential of more severe weather, maybe some sort of complex of storms that was showing for areas of North Texas and western Oklahoma. Then as we headed towards Friday night into early Saturday morning, watching this area for maybe a little bit of damaging wind activity. Like I said before, it's not going to be too terribly significant due to weak instability, but I would still monitor this area as a whole because there's going to be some decent jet energy. And then as we headed towards early Friday morning, instability is going to be building all the way across the central and southern plains. Then as we head in towards Friday afternoon, this is where you're looking at a severe weather outbreak, all right? Possibly tornado outbreak closer to the low pressure system, all right? Which would probably be in Kansas, Nebraska, and the Ozarks, all right? Back in towards Iowa, all right? That's probably where the moderate risk would be if they issued one. The severe risk does not stop there, though. Like I said before, as we head in towards Saturday, this will shift off towards the east, all right? Overlapping ingredients suggest this area would be at risk for more severe weather. In addition to that, down here across Texas, there could be a mesoscale convective system blasting through with the threat of all hazards. And then as we take it in towards Sunday, instability will likely be there. So there will be some thunderstorms, but wind energy will be very minimal aloft. So I don't expect anything more than marginal risks by Sunday. Monday is something to watch for western Texas across this corridor right here. We could have a marginal risk, but like I said, anything more than that is highly unlikely. And then as we head in towards Tuesday, though, maybe another day of significant severe weather across this area here. All right, the question remains down here, because you could see like the coverage of storms absolutely was less, but I mean, it is showing this big line of thunderstorms up here, so that's something to monitor. But down here, definitely not out of the woods either, so there could be something significant brewing for next week as well, so be ready. And then as we headed towards Wednesday, instability will move off towards the east. Again, a low Cape high shear setup is not ruled out across this area. In addition to that, more severe storms, possibly with an attendant tornado risk, is possible down here across the Gulf states. And then as we head beyond this, severe weather is going to be shut down, and then we have winter storms to worry about. And taking a peek now at your low-level winds, or your low-level jet as we head into the daytime hours tomorrow. Your Tuesday, March 3rd, all right? As we head in towards the afternoon and evening where those storms will fire up. Again, not much of a damaging wind nor tornado threat. It's going to be mainly driven off of hail across this corridor, but certainly something to watch if you live in anywhere of those areas. And then as we take it into Wednesday, this is when the low-level jet will kind of try to ramp up, especially Wednesday night into early Thursday morning. I would be watching this entire corridor for some severe weather, probably damaging winds, maybe a tornado. But then as we head in towards Thursday, notice as this low-level jet moves off towards the east, I would be concerned for damaging winds across this area because there's still some instability remaining. I don't want to ignore you guys up here because it's such a localized corridor, but it is something to monitor. Across the plains, though, here comes that next system coming in like a lion, all right? Low-level jet energy is already increasing crazy as we headed towards Thursday night and into early Friday morning, and then come Friday afternoon and evening and even in towards the overnight. Yeah, expecting something significant across this corridor here. Tornadoes would definitely be a possibility. In addition, damaging winds would be possible, if not likely, anywhere in this corridor. And then as we take it in towards Saturday afternoon and evening, again, the threat of severe weather will begin to move off towards the east. This is where your damaging wind threat, maybe even tornado threat, could be as we headed towards Saturday. The interesting thing is that there's not much low-level jet energy down here, so that mesoscale convective system may just be some heavy rain and hail rather than anything too tornadic, all right? So just monitoring that closely. And then as we head in towards Sunday, we will likely see a break from severe weather, but then as we head in towards Monday, watching western Texas for maybe some hailing thunderstorms, all right, and maybe southern New Mexico, like I said before, maybe a marginal risk day there. But then here comes the big-time storm system as we headed towards Tuesday, all right? This is a week from tomorrow, so things will be changing, but the low-level jet energy absolutely is supportive of significant severe storms all the way from Illinois, southern Wisconsin, that down in towards Texas, absolutely much more like May rather than early March. And then as we headed towards Wednesday, the severe risk will move off towards the east, it looks like. Right now, this area favored, but that could absolutely change. And then as we head Thursday, next week and beyond, things become a lot more uncertain. However, like I said before, it is likely that winter returns and the severe weather shuts off past that late week time frame next week. And taking a look now at those temperatures over the course of the next 7 days or so, then we'll talk about, since we already covered the severe weather risk, we also have flooding risk with that as well. Of course we do, all right? So we'll take a look at that here in just a second, but let's take a look at those temperatures just to start, all right? There is going to be a sharp cutoff from cold temperatures to warm temperatures across this area, all right? South of this line, you're dealing with really spring-like, if not summer-like temperatures. However, north of that, you're dealing with perhaps wintry light temperatures and just brisker conditions, all right? So it is going to definitely be a sharp gradient from place to place. But as we headed towards Wednesday, milder air is absolutely making it further to the north. The most mild air is still down here, but I mean, this first circle region absolutely is going to feel it. You guys are probably going to be wearing shorts and a t-shirt up here in Montana, if not Minnesota and Wisconsin as well, in addition to Michigan in the Northeast. So that's absolutely going to feel warm to you guys. But as we headed towards Thursday, warming up drastically, notice how fast that warm sector expands. All right, like I said before, there's going to be that system moving off towards the east. So a little cold front there. That's going to ignite your thunderstorms over there across the Ohio Valley and the severe thunderstorm potential down there in Texas. But besides that, I mean, as we head in towards Friday, that warm sector will expand it significantly. All right, we're talking about possibly summer-like temperatures in this entire area, with temperatures trying to make a run at 80 across the Ohio Valley back in towards the upper Midwest as we head in towards this time frame and take it into the daytime hours on Saturday. It is still going to feel like spring, if not summer, across this entire area. You guys are absolutely going to be wearing shorts and a t-shirt if you live anywhere in this area, I almost guarantee. But then as we head in towards Sunday, notice as little cold front sweeps on through, still rather mild though, across this area. Guess what? That sets the stage for the next storm system, which could potentially become significant. And you notice as we head in towards Monday afternoon, here come the summer-like temperatures and spring-like temperatures soaring to the north once more, including the southeastern United States and Ohio Valley still on that milder side of things. Then as we headed towards Tuesday, it appears temperatures might make a run at 80 across these areas. Again, maybe closer to 90 back down into the deep south, Florida, west toward Texas. I'm absolutely going to need to monitor that. Then as we head in towards Wednesday, still, it appears we can make a run at 80 degrees across this maroon shaded out area. In addition to that, these whiter areas, 90 potentially. All right, so watch out if you live in the southeastern United States. It could get really hot as we headed towards Wednesday. And then as we head beyond that, yep, here comes winter again with signs of it not ending anytime soon. And finally, taking a look at those flash flooding risks and your total rainfall over the course of the next 10 days or so. Very, very wet across this area. Some may be in the form of snow because I took it out to the end of the model run, especially up here across this corridor. But anywhere south of this line, absolutely going to be rain and thunderstorms. So you guys definitely have flash flooding risks across this entire area over the course of the next 7 to 10 days, especially with any training thunderstorms. All right, folks, that was it for me. I'm Severe Storm Filmer. It's going to get super active. Again, Friday, I'm concerned for a tornado outbreak in the Midwest and central part of the country. Saturday, maybe some sort of severe weather event continuing into the Great Lakes, down south into the deep south. So definitely monitoring all of that. But for now, have a great rest of your night. Make sure you like and subscribe. Comment down below if you have any questions.